Hello everyone and welcome back to Animation Pilgrimage, the show where Whitney and I take a look at every single theatrically released animated film in chronological order. I'm Tennille.
And I'm Whitney, and today we are still in 1978, so the third 1978 film in a row. So many catch-up films from this year, and just wait until next year. We have like 4 or 5 catch-up films in 79. Oh boy.
We're getting there though.
We're getting there.
Anyway, today we watched The Ballad of the Daltons, which is a sequel to the Lucky Luke film we've watched before, Daisy Town, which we hated.
Yeah, I don't remember us. I didn't remember us liking that film. What year did that come out?
1971.
71. So this came out 7 years later.
I just rewatched our review of Daisy Town because I didn't really remember much about it, and now I remember why, because I specifically said in that review I hated this movie so much that I wanted to forget it as soon as possible. Apparently I did.
Okay, so important to note, Lucky Luke is a French or Belgian, I don't know. This movie was made in France.
Yeah.
We didn't say that part. And I also want to say thank you to Michael Ray for finding this movie for us.
Thank you very much.
All right, now, Lucky Luke is a comic strip character. Well, not strip, but like comic character, similar to like Asterix or the Tintin. Like a European comic book character, but he's based around an American cowboy, and so it's just a Western setting, and it has a lot of jokes based around that. And we were not super keen on the original.
Mostly
movie.
because it was really fucking racist.
Yeah, who could have seen that coming? And spoilers, I thought this movie was really good, except for the racist parts.
Yeah, actually. So, okay, really hated Daisy Town. This movie, I actually really want to like it. I think it has a lot of charm and appeal, and I think I finally understand the appeal of
Lucky Luke.
Lucky Luke and Asterix, because this is made by the same guy.
Okay.
I know in the first review I talk about how Lucky Luke is a character created by somebody else. I think it's... I'm not going to say who it is. Just go watch that review. I talk about it. But Renee Goscinny also worked on Lucky Luke, but Lucky Luke is not his character.
Okay.
Like, not his original character. But was very much involved in the creation of this film. And I want to like this film, but again, it's just riddled with the casual of, like, racist stereotypes that
make most Western things unbearable to watch.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't like the Western aesthetic, just for the simple fact that the villains are almost always them Indians and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I don't like it. That being said, Native Americans are not villains in this movie, thank God. But they are casually used as like oh no, they're attacking us at one scene.
Right.
For no reason. That could have been skipped over easily.
So, the previous film had a lot more, like, direct racism in it. And it's not that this film doesn't have it. It's just more so riddled with, like, really
I would say
offensive
bad caricatures.
But
more so than, like, directly racist.
Like, it's still racist. It's just, it's not as bad as it was in the first film.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we're getting slightly better. But just...
I still just can't recommend this film, though, because it has this shit in it. You know?
I was actually going to say, like, it might still be worth a watch, but with the big caveat of it's got this bullshit in it.
Right. Because when it does, like, when this bullshit is not present, this film is actually really charming and likable.
Yeah, so how about we go over a plot synopsis?
Go for it.
All right, so this movie is called The Ballad of the Daltons, and it's about the Daltons, who are 4 brothers who are tiered in their height. So, like, they always stand right next to each other, and they just create, like, a wedge shape. And they do a lot of fun visual gags with this kind of thing. Anyways, they're villains, they rob people, yada yada yada. The movie starts with them being taken to jail by Lucky Luke, who captures them continuously whenever they escape and stuff.
I'm gonna stop you there. I actually really like how this whole film is bookended with a ballad. It is the Ballad of the Daltons. It starts at like a saloon where
a guy comes out and starts singing the Ballad of the Daltons.
Yeah, and then they use this ballad. It comes back to segue into different segments. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really nice touch. The ballad itself is not anything like super memorable or anything, but it's well enough written. Like it's a good way to transition between segments.
Yeah, I guess important to note, we did watch the English dub of this movie, but honestly, I think the English dub was very good.
Very well done.
Like, it was pretty well done, which is hard to do often.
I will also stop you there and go ahead and give this tidbit of information.
Okay.
The dubbing director and script adapter was Martin Rosen. Do you recognize that name?
I don't.
He is the director of Watership Down and Plague Dogs.
Oh, wow, okay, so he, like, actually... Well, good job. Good job.
Just, like, worlds colliding. I love seeing that.
Awesome. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. All right, anyways, they're in jail, and while they're there, they are visited by some legal lawyer guy, and he has brought the will and testament of their uncle. And their uncle was just recently hung for
also being an outlaw.
An outlaw and doing lots of crimes and stuff. Mm-hmm. So his will is to give all of his loot and booty and treasure to his nephews, who are the Daltons, if they kill the jury and judge that got him hung in the first place. Which is, like, obviously they would never do this in reality, but for the setup for a silly comic book movie... Great, I love it. This is very silly, I like it.
I love the idea of a legal, like, passing on of a will. And it's like, yes, you can have all the things in my will if you go do several murders. Yes, the law is going to honor this final will and testament.
But of course. And on top of that, to make sure it's actually done and they don't just say they've done it, they have to have Lucky Luke, who is a sheriff, witness all of the murders and confirm the kills.
Yes.
So they escape from jail, and then they find Lucky Luke, and they convince him that if he helps in this, he will get a cut of the loot. Right. And Lucky Luke is like, yeah, totally. And then he's like, wink, because he's a inherently good guy. That is all he's written to be most of the time. Just a very quiet, subdued, smart, outwitting, good guy.
Another thing I want to say, I hated Lucky Luke in the first film. I actually find him really likable here.
Yeah. Because he's a foil to the Daltons.
Exactly.
He's not just about him.
Yeah, it's a really fun dynamic. My main problem in the last film, based on what we said, was that he was just a character that came off as like, he's here to beat up everybody because he's better than you, and all he does is smoke all the time. And that were like the only two characteristics he had. But that's not the case in this film.
In this movie, he's
still
actually
smoke all the time.
Well, yeah.
But like,
he's smart.
Yeah, he's clever. He's outwitting our protagonists, I guess.
Yeah, I guess the Daltons are kind of more so the protagonists over Lucky Luke in this movie.
Right.
He's just a good foil to their anger and just abruptness and stupidity and stuff like that.
This whole movie plays out more like a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Yes.
Or like a Wile E. Coyote short than what the last film was trying to do.
Whereas trying to tell a quote-unquote more serious story.
And Lucky Luke is definitely like our Bugs Bunny outwitting
the Daltons.
The Daltons at every turn. And that's really fun to watch.
Yeah. So we get started on our adventures of the Daltons and Lucky Luke going around to find all the jury members and systematically murder them all off. This is the bulk of the movie, and I'm going to be honest, it gets a little tedious by the end of the film because...
It's a little repetitive because there's like 8 people they need to kill.
There's so many people, and I honestly don't remember all of them, and I think that's fine. But the general concept is they go to a place, they find the person. Lucky Luke somehow outwits the Daltons and distracts them long enough to pretend to kill the person for the Daltons. And then they move on because, oh, we did a murder, we better run off real quick. And then they just rinse and repeat this idea 8 times.
Right.
For the jury and then the judge.
So Lucky Luke is actually protecting all the people by faking their deaths.
Yes. So he somehow gets them off to the side and tells them what's going on, or he just straight up knocks them out.
Yeah.
But either way, he just kind of goes through and gets all of these people off the hook without actually getting them killed. And a lot of these segments are very fun, but also, unfortunately, this is where a lot of the, like,
racist
stereotypes come in. Because the very first guy they go to is a Chinese guy who runs a laundromat. And he runs around and screams in a very racist voice and does karate kung fu on everything in sight, and it's not great.
It's not great. And then there's, of course, like a native...
There's a medicine man.
There's a medicine man.
A Native American medicine man who was apparently a part of this jury.
Yeah.
This jury is, like, impossible. Like, this would never happen in the real Wild West.
Group of people.
It would be 7 white men, and that would have been the end.
Yeah, somehow there's a lot more interesting characters on this jury.
Mm-hmm. Either way, some of the other people that they run into is the Native American medicine man who drugs them, and then there's a random musical sequence in the middle of nowhere where it's set in like the 1920s Hollywood, and this was great!
Let me tell you, this movie did the impossible. It made a drug sequence fun.
Uh-huh.
Like a dream sequence. That is always a recipe for, we had time to fill, here's some random shit for 2 minutes while you get bored out of your mind. No, this segment was actually entertaining?
It was fun. They made a Singing in the Rain reference.
Well, it was all a reference to, like, golden Hollywood age movies.
Mm-hmm.
And... yeah, like, even just saying that out loud, I can see people being like, really? How is that entertaining? I think the biggest thing is, like, it just didn't overstay its welcome. It moved on from segment to segment, like,
it kept building on itself, too.
It kept building on itself, and then right about the point where you're like, all right, this is starting to get a little much, it ends.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah. It was actually really well done, and it was good.
I'm shocked because I am so against these kinds of things in movies. They're almost always bad. And I'm not even going to say that this is like the best part of the movie, but the fact that this wasn't just an awful waste of 5 minutes is astounding to me.
Yeah, it was great.
Mm-hmm.
Other characters they run into like a fake doctor guy who sells like snake oil potions.
Yeah.
He acted like Mr. Magoo, which was a little weird, but whatever. Mm-hmm. They also have a segment with a train conductor where they run a train off the tracks and it goes through like 1,200 different locations. Mm-hmm. There's a prospector who... for that segment, they send the Daltons on a minecart ride because, of course, they do.
It's all roller coaster.
It's like a roller coaster idea, yeah.
But it's fun.
Yeah, there's also eventually they end up with the judge who's just like running a rodeo.
Mm-hmm. There's also a coroner. Is that the correct word?
Yeah, the guy that puts you in the coffins.
Yeah,
and that was pretty boring. That segment was probably one of the least interesting. He's also like one of the last ones, and I was just like, all right, let's get moving. Because again, they do this with like 7 or 8 different people, and it just gets very long by the end. Anyways, by the end, they have supposedly killed off all of these different members, and they go back to the law guy, and he's like, cool, just walk through this door for one last thing. And they walk into a courthouse where all of the jury and judge are there, and they're like, we convict you for attempted murder and Lucky Luke takes them back to the jail. And the stipulation on if they weren't able to do this is all the money that the guy had goes to an orphanage. So we so we get a small segment of an orphanage under the Daltons' name, and there's a statue of him on a horse right before he's hung, and the children are like singing songs of like, thank you for being evil and getting caught and stuff. And it's like, it's very silly and it's very tongue-in-cheek. And I like it a lot.
Yeah.
And that's how the movie ends. The Daltons back in jail.
Mm-hmm. Another thing I want to point out now that we're done summarizing the movie is that the animation and art direction in this film is, I would say, like, considerably better than Daisy Town.
Well, yeah, they've had 7 years to get better at animation. I would hope so.
The character design really pops in this film, with obvious exceptions to the racist caricatures.
The Chinese character, the Native American character, and I didn't even mention there's a couple of Mexican caricatures in here too, for absolutely no reason other than to make jokes at the expense of Mexican people.
Yeah.
And so, like, those parts are very unfortunate, and it's like...
And awful.
You could cut most of them. Well...
No, they're kind of integral to the plot.
Yeah, unfortunately... yeah, the Chinese guy and the Native American guy are integral to the plot because they're two of the people that are supposed to be killed.
Yeah, but, like, Lucky Luke's design, the Daltons' design, the horse, like, a lot of the just, like, scenery and stuff, it really pops. It really looks pretty professional. The animation is decent enough. It's not, wow, amazing. But, like, it's serviceable.
It's very competent. Yeah, it's like, it works very well for what they're going for. I think
I don't have any complaints about it.
Yeah. Oh, I guess technically there's one more character in this movie. There's like a dog that was at the jail.
Yeah,
that just kind of he just kind of follows them around, and there's a couple of jokes with him as well. Like at one point they go into an egregiously dry desert where like everything's dead and it's just like this flat blank background. At one point he's like, oh no, someone's stolen the background. Because the whole movie he keeps thinking things are stolen. Like he thought someone stole the jail, but he just got thrown out of the jail.
Yeah.
And, like, someone stole the white horse and stuff like that. So he's...
Most of his jokes don't land, but the one about
So they've even stolen the background.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one.
That was a good joke.
Yeah. That was a pretty good one. I also like the kind of pun of his name. Instead of, like, Rin Tin Tin, he's Rin Tin Can. It's cute. Anyway, so... more info about this movie. This movie was actually, the concept of it was not a comic adaptation.
Okay.
So, this is just like an original Lucky Luke
story
that then got adapted into a comic.
Okay.
But also apparently at the same time, a book, like a novel, came out as well, which... I'm getting kind of conflicting information about whether this book was more so of a behind-the-scenes art book, or if it's just a retelling of the story.
Okay,
with
interesting.
Pictures from the movie in it. Maybe it's both? I'm not sure. But I did see that this book is, like, up on Amazon, or maybe not Amazon, but, like, it's for sale, but, like, it's only in French, so...
Even if we got our hands on it, it wouldn't really be super useful.
Yeah, I mean, unless it was, like, a production art book, which, I'd still be interested in something like that. But I thought that was interesting. This movie came out October 25th, 1978, but unfortunately, Rene Goscinny died 1977 as the film was wrapping up production.
Oh, no. So is that the director or the creator of Lucky Luke?
Well, it's somebody who wrote for Lucky Luke, but also the creator of Asterisk.
Right, okay, yes.
But he was helping with this film, and apparently, like, even in his last few days, he was helping, like, figure out some stuff for this movie and, like, giving advice on, like, how characters should be drawn and stuff like that. And, it's always sad when you see a creator like this die who's so influential and widely beloved worldwide for his work. I saw a thing that was saying that also he had been working on Asterix in Belgium right before his death, and he didn't get to finish that one, so somebody else took up the mantle of finishing that volume of Asterix, and the point in which his work stops, René Goscinny, and the new artist began, he signified that by making all the skies dark and stormy.
Oh.
Like for the rest of the comic.
Okay.
And then at the very end of the book, there's like René Goscinny's signature, which then the artist drew like a little rabbit looking back sadly at the name. And I was like, oh, that's really heartbreaking and sweet and like a nice way to like pay tribute to the original creator.
It's very nice. I don't really care for Asterix all that much, but that is very sweet. And like, even if I don't like him, he still did a lot of good work that people really do enjoy. So like, it's still sad when people die.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, like I said, I thought it was really interesting that the dubbing adaptation was directed by Martin Rosen, who, like I said earlier, was the director for Watership Down in 1978, and then Plague Dogs, which we will be watching in 1982. So, like, this is a project
he was just working on between those two films.
Yeah, well, I mean, this came out in 1978, too, so...
Well, even the English dub?
Oh, true.
The English dub probably came out a year or two later.
Yeah, so...
like, he was working on that after finishing Watership Down and before working on...
Plague Dogs.
Plague Dogs. What a whiplash of emotions there. Serious movie about rabbits. Funny cartoon western. Ha ha. Serious movie about dogs that die.
Very, very serious. Anyway, well, I mean, everybody needs to take a break.
I mean, fair enough.
I would need something light in between those two projects, too.
Absolutely.
But yeah, unfortunately, it's a film I just can't really recommend because it hasn't aged super well, but if you think that this is something like that sounds interesting to you, check it out.
For sure. I think...
Of the Lucky Luke films, this is definitely the preferable one.
Yeah, of the two Lucky Luke films we've watched, I would say this one over the other one, hands down, 100%.
Because the plot of the other one was just stupid anyway. So, like, this one, like, actually has a decent plot. I like the character design. I like the animation overall. It's overall just kind of funny and charming, except for the stuff that isn't.
Yeah. Yep. All right, either way, join us back here next time as we finally move on to 1979 with 4 catch-up films. Also, all 4 found for us by Michael Ray. Nice. Which is awesome.
Thank you, Michael Ray.
Yes, indeed. So, we're staying in France, and we're going to be watching... I already know we're going to hate this movie just from the title.
No. Oh, no.
Just from the title, because it's 7,000 words. The Fabulous Adventures of the Legendary Baron Munchausen. I probably pronounced the name wrong, but you can already tell from a name like that, it's like, oh, this is... We rag on movies that have, like, The Adventures of X character as the title of the movie. So, like, we're not a fan. We're not going to be a fan of this.
Well, this doesn't mean the movie's going to be bad.
No.
We'll see.
So, we'll see what we think of it next time.
Yeah. See you then.